In this episode, Darrell and I discuss whether you should hire or train a new skill. If you don't know who we are, Darrell and I were co-founders of a company called Realbase, which we recently sold for 180 million. I was CTO and Darrell was head of product. So let's jump into today's episode.
Alrighty, welcome back. What's on your mind?
Hello, Darrell. Well, today, and there's an interesting one. I've thought about this, and it's actually from experience as well. We've had these same kind of things, but the topic on mind is hiring versus learning or teaching a skill. So basically, when you need to have a skill in your business, so if you say, for instance, needed someone that was really good at marketing, or you needed to start marketing, now you have two options. You have the option of going out there and spending heaps of money on the best person possible, or two, learning that skill yourself. And I guess there's another option. It's learning yourself. It depends on the size of your business, but learning it yourself, which I recommend anyway if you're going to try and teach it to someone, and then teaching that skill to an employee, or like you had an employee that was this type of person and you want to level them up to be this. And I guess a good example of this is junior engineers or software engineers or software developers or whatever you want to call them, is you hire them as a junior. So you are now teaching them to be a senior. So instead of going and paying for a senior, you are teaching a junior. So in my experience, or from history, I hired a lot of juniors and trained them into being seniors. Now, one of the reasons why we did that was money. And this is the pro of teaching or learning, is it's cheaper, but it costs you lots of time. And time is money, as they say. So with the flip side of that, of hiring that person, would be the con is it costs a lot of money, but the pro is it saves you heaps of learning and time.
Yep.
So I just, one other thing to add to that is something that Hormozi touches on as well, is he says he likes to learn, so he likes to pay some expert to do the job and then learn as fast from them. So they already know the stumbling blocks, right? So imagine he talks about social media marketing. They already know like the basic gotchas.
Yep.
So you're going to skip all that learning, and then you're going to learn the top end stuff really quickly from them, and then you're going to have it, and then you can either, one, take that onto yourself as a business when you're starting out, or give it on to another person that you want to do. And then obviously as you grow, you can then teach those people in your business or just go and hire those people. So I think there's a bit of nuance to this because it does depend on where you are in your business life cycle.
Yeah, we were also like really limited because of our location, and that's probably relevant to a lot of people, is like where you're hiring from is going to limit how many people you can find. So for example, I think from memory there were 30 or 40 Rails devs available when we were looking for a senior Rails dev once. Like, we're not talking about a big pool of people. So hiring juniors is a better way to go if you can't find the people nearby. If you're remote, you open up the whole world, but then obviously the prices go up because anyone who's available to the whole world is available to the Facebooks, etc. So there's definitely a benefit to hiring the juniors. But yeah, what's the long-term cost? Because I know a lot of the time we were resource constrained by you and the other senior people. Spending a lot of time teaching means that the product is constricted. It can't, like the really big innovating stuff can't be done. There would have been plenty of things we said no to being able to implement that might have been incredibly valuable that we didn't have time to do because we were doing that. But at the same time, a lot of the smaller jobs probably wouldn't have got done if you didn't have juniors there doing it, because they're learning through the smaller jobs, and you've got a lot of opportunity to address smaller things through that. So it's definitely like a double-edged sword. I agree that you need to know how to do these things in the business. At least some of the owners need to know all of the main things. So it's all well and good to hire someone to do a job, but we always had the benefit of like knowing how to install a sign meant that we could manage sign installers. We could manage the software that ran the sign installations. Like knowing all the tiny pieces of the business and knowing when to hand them off, being able to jump back in and improve the processes was only possible because we knew how to do all of those things. So we could speak from a like really good context what needed to be done and how to fix it. And if you don't know how to do it, so like if you just outsource hire and you don't actually ever learn how to do the thing, I think you'll have blind spots.
Yeah, I think there is something there, but I also think at the same time you can play it in a different way. And I would love to play it in a different way. So I think you could actually hire someone. Let's take it for example. We were doing science, but then we went and hired someone who worked in a sign company that was really good. Firstly, it has to be, we're talking about hiring talent, not hiring anyone. So it's not just like hiring someone who knows, it's like hiring the best of the best. This is what we're talking about. Like hiring the best is trying to learn to be the best. Now, I actually think we would have had a better journey or a more enjoyable journey if we had hired someone who was the best at that. Because one, they already know, like all those learnings, you don't have to learn them. We had to learn the basics and in hard ways, right? Like some of them were very expensive lessons to learn, but a pro, you wouldn't, he's already learned those lessons and he's like, no, we're not doing this. And it's the same as like you starting a new startup and then you go out and you find the cheapest dev you can hire because you're like, oh, they'll learn this process going forward. Yeah, sure, you're going to save some money, but if someone's been there, done that, it's just another day in the, it's just another day. It's like, yeah, cool. Well, we're going to do this, and this because when you do this, and this, you avoid this problem. You avoid this problem. You avoid this problem. What do those problems add up to? Like in the long run?
They'd be astronomical. I think if I was like, how would we do that if we were doing it again? Is figure out a way to not be as time constrained on your hires. We were always in a rush to hire, like desperately in a rush to hire, to the point that like within a 2-week period, if we saw maybe 10 people, we couldn't keep looking for more people because we needed more people because the business was growing. So trying to avoid those circumstances so that you have the time to hire the right people, or hiring someone to fill a gap, but then continuing to try and find the person to hire that was the right person for that job.
Not just stopping.
Don't stop once you've found a person to fill that, like they just fill that core need, but they're not like the exceptional person. But that's a huge investment. You probably have to get yourself out of the day-to-day a bit more to do that as well, because we were so heavily into the day-to-day that the idea of continually interviewing people as they came up or re-uploading job postings, refreshing them, like there's a whole bunch of work there around hiring to keep a good job listing out there to find the right person.
I think also like we were very constrained in our thinking, not so much our actual finances, but our thinking about finances. Like we didn't want to pay a recruiter money until we were a bigger size, and like that can hurt you. And you didn't want to pay someone so much money because you were like, why? I don't want to because I don't feel right about it. And it's like as you get bigger in business, you kind of realize, well, maybe that's not the way to think. If you can like stretch to afford.
The other way around, because the problem is if you're starting a business, you're paying yourself low. You don't want to pay people more than you, but realistically, you're getting the long-term equity in the business. So pay those people a lot more earlier on, because it's going to pay off dividends for you. It's just hard to like fathom that, I should spend more than I'm earning on all of these people. Like if my payroll is $10 million and I'm on 50K a year, that would be unfair. Well, no, it wouldn't, because you'd be growing a $50 million or $100 million business.
Yeah, look, if you have a $10 million payroll and you're only getting 50, there is a problem there, because you need to pay yourself. But you don't have to be the highest paid in the beginning. And if you can see it as, I'm going to spend this much pain and learning to actually understand this thing, it's worth. And you also have like, again, it has to be very clear. It's not just the sake of hiring people for the sake of hiring people. It's the sake of hiring experts in their field. So what is that leap that you're going to get? Like, what's it going to do to your business? Like, that's the questions you're going to ask. You're going to ask make sure you learn how to hire. Ask the right questions. Like, what are you going to actually do to the bottom line of this business? So that when these people are working, they're like, I understand how I contribute and I need to deliver, right? And if they're not delivering, get rid of them. Like full stop. Like if we did try a lot, sometimes pay lots of money for people that talked a big game but didn't deliver, and they're gone. Like you didn't deliver that. So because there's also that opportunity, or not opportunity, but there's a process of leveling people up in the business to try and reach certain positions. But some people aren't built to do a role. Like Homo talks about, salesmen aren't really built to be sales managers, because selling is different to managing. So you can't really just level someone up. You really need to say, I need a different type of person, and this person does this role specifically really well, right? So like I think just the amount of pain you experience by not having the right people, it should be enough of a red flag that it's probably not a good idea to teach this thing. Like we try to learn a lot of things, or teach a lot of skills where you just like find out this is not the thing, and you've spent 6 months, and you know that was that cost to you? You not do it. Like one, you want to, okay, this is just a pure clean example of hiring professional versus not, is you want to be able to say, like, this is my dream. I want this feature. It needs to do this. Go and do it.
Yep.
That to this day was very difficult to actually achieve. Now, that is a level of person. And those are the people you're paying lots of money. Like Hormozy talks about paying people millions of dollars a year. But he's like, within the first year, that person had made that money back. And they said, the first time I paid someone $1 million a year was painful and it was hurt, because he's like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if they are truly good, they will deliver that value back. He said they found within the first year they'd already paid back their salary plus more, because they'd found certain ways of doing things in his business. And he's talking about like accountants, lawyers, etc. But those are the people you want on your team. Those are like, you want those people that can just say, hey, here's the problem, fix it. That's it. Like he talks about Google when, you know, they came in and they were like, AdSense, like when you search, the ads that are coming up suck. Drew it on a whiteboard, pushed it on there, and he said, hey, sort it out. What did the team do? They came and they spent a couple of days or weeks and they built AdSense, which is now the core of Google, making billions of dollars. That's the team you want in your camp, right? So how do you find those people? That's where this is where the kind of the big disconnect is. Like, yes, you can pay heaps of money for those people and it hurts, or you can try and train your people to be that good. And look, I am a firm believer that anyone can do anything if they actually believe they can and they try really hard. But
if they want to try to do it,
they have to. Yeah, they have to try. So that's what I looked for. I look for that kind of mentality. But then you have to understand, yes, they can, but it's going to take time. Like to be a really good at anything, 10,000 hour rule. Are you going to pay that 10,000 hours? Like,
do you want them to learn on your dollar? Because you could just shortcut that and pay heaps of money in advance. Yeah.
So you're going to pay basically 4, 5, 6 years. I think it's longer. What does that equal? Of time to get to that skill level when you could have just paid it at the beginning and reaped the rewards. So
at the cost of another person's business. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's hard to do, honestly, when you're a startup and you have no money. I totally get it. It's definitely something that's hard, but like either you slow it to hire, or you start so you can save your pennies to pay for that really good person. Or like in the beginning, like as a founder, you are going to spend a lot of time learning and you're going to be the best anyway because you're going to care the most. That's just full stop. No one's going to care as much as you. But yeah, I just find it sometimes like people get stuck in like, I'm just going to teach this person to do this role, which they're not actually built for. They didn't want to do it. They don't care about it. It's not their passion. So you're kind of wasting your time sometimes as well. Like you're like, I'm going to teach this person to be my marketing person. And they'll have no interest in marketing, you know? Yeah. So it's just one of those things. I think you should think about it and evaluate what are the pros and cons before committing to each.
Yeah, I think like from our history, I can see that the long-term cost of it can be really astronomical because it results in more hires in areas you wouldn't expect. So I've seen lots of things that we did in our business that the right hire in an engineering space or the right hire in a certain space could have stopped entire teams of managers and all their people under them needing to exist by addressing root causes as opposed to filling roles to solve problems. Like there are these root causes that you could fix if you put the effort and the money into the right people in the right place that can avoid it turning into an entire division of your business that you could have solved that problem sort of like at the start, cut it off at the head instead of letting it grow into that bigger problem where everyone is doing a lot of work to do whatever it is, customer support or anything, where you could just fix the problem with the product if you had the right people to think about it. And then you never invent that whole, like all of these departments, you never invent these management layers because like you're going to end up paying it eventually. If the business is successful, you'll end up paying whether it's upfront for this one person who can think critically and really address things at like a good high level, or you end up with 50 team members doing things instead.
And it costs you way more anyway, because the fear of paying, like we've talked about this, like you could pay a lot of money, like $1 million for a problem, for a person who could solve the problem, who knows how to solve the problem, who's done it before. Or you can go and hire 3 to 4 other people, chuck a project manager on top and a designer to kind of attempt to learn the problem. By the time that they've learned or understood the domain, the other person would have finished the job and you would have already been reaping the reward. Instead, you opt for the cheaper method, but in the long term, it just ends up costing more.